Several hours later, I arrived in Ireland, the Emerald Isle. I'd been lucky to get a bus from Dublin to the tiny village of LOCHMARNE. On the way out, the driver told me there was only one service a day. The menu was limited. It read, "No food today." I didn't care. I'd lost my appetite somewhere over the Irish Sea. It was a trap door in the sidewalk. I tugged at the trap door, but it was locked from the inside. The drain was covered with an iron grating, through which I could hear the rush and surge of running water. I took hold of the grating and pulled hard, but it didn't move. The lad was doing his best to express his adolescent aggression. His effort was somewhat diminished by the fringe of milk on his lightly feathered upper lip. Hi there.
What?
What's your name, kid?
Who are you calling kid? Who the hell are you?
I'm George Stobbart, and I'm with the good guys.
You're a head case, mister. A few sandwiches short of a picnic.
Cut the crap and tell me your name.
Liam McGuire.
What are you doing hanging around the bar, McGuire?
I'm on the run from me dad.
Why? Did you do something bad?
I ain't done nothing, boss.
You can tell me, kid. Is it your dad?
Oh, sir. He drinks every last penny down his evil throat. And there's me poor old mother, bedridden and dying of presumption. I tried to buy her medicine. Chopped firewood for Father Mahoney till me fingers bled. The old skinflint cheated me too. But I took the pennies he gave me back home. "Look, Ma," says I, "see what your darling son has earned with his own sweat and blood." When suddenly, me dad appears and grabs the loot. "I'm off to Dublin heavy drinking," says he. "Watch out till I get back." That's why I runned away.
Something in the grin on his face told me he wasn't being strictly truthful. Compared to him, Huckleberry Finn was a candidate for Altar Boy of the Year. Do you know a man called Pegram?
Can you describe him like on the telly in the cop shows?
He's an English archaeologist.
I know the man you mean if he's the one.
Can you tell me where I'd find Pegram?
No, I can't, 'cause he's not here now, but if I sees him, I'll ask him.
Do you know what Pegram was doing in the castle?
Digging for buried treasure. Jewels and gold and skeletons, like in the films.
Do you know anything about Pegram's dig?
He wouldn't let me anywhere near it. I offered to help, but he chased me off. I didn't want to see his smelly old hole anyhow.
Did anyone from the village work at the dig?
Pegram brought some students and bums with him. He reckoned no one in LOCHMARNE would know what to look for. The only local guy who worked for him was Sean Fitzgerald.
What does this Fitzgerald guy look like?
Big head, big ears, and face irons.
What?
You know, spectacles, glasses. He's blind as a bat without him.
What can you tell me about the castle, McGuire?
What do you want to know?
Well, can I get inside?
No, it's locked up.
Does anyone live there?
No, only...
What?
Oh, nothing.
You know something about the castle you're not telling me, don't you?
No,
What is it you're covering up? Is it something you're scared of?
I ain't scared of nothing.
I'll give you one last chance to tell me about the castle.
Oh, yeah? And what if I don't?
Then I'm taking you back to school.
Oh. There's a ghost. It's called the Phantom of LOCHMARNE.
You're not telling me you believe in ghosts, are you?
Mister, I seen it with me very own eyes. Last Tuesday night, I went up to see what that dig was about. I just reached the top of the wall when I hears this awful noise.
What sort of noise?
A horrible snuffling and snorting, like O'Brien's pig, only worst. It was coming from inside the castle.
Did you find out what was making the noise in the castle?
No fear. I just sat there on the wall like Humpty Dumpty. The moon was cracked and greasy like an old dinner plate. The yard was full of shadows that could have been hiding anything. I would have gone home, but me legs had lost their stuffing.
Did you get to see the ghost?
Indeed I did. And a fearsome sight it is too. I sat on me arse, waited while the moon went down. Then out it comes from the shadows, all grey and tattered and hunched over like an old bent willow. Then I hears this spluttering and splashing and horrible laughter in the dark. I was so scared. Why, I fell off the bloody wall.
I'm sure there's a rational explanation for what you saw at the castle.
There is. The bloody place is haunted.
Have you seen a guy dressed as a clown?
Here in Lochmarne, they all dress like clowns.
The man I'm looking for is a dangerous psychotic.
Jesus. It's just like that film I saw. There's this clown, see, and he's after this kid who saw him kill a guy. He tries to warn the sheriff, only no one believes him. Then, while he's in the tub, the clown cuts him up with a chainsaw.
My God, that doesn't sound suitable for a kid like you.
Who are you calling a kid? I'm 25.
Yeah, right. You're not a day over 14.
Oh no, it's 25 that I am. Married with a car and 3 kids. 10 kids if you count the wives.
Have you ever seen anyone wearing one of these?
That belongs to the killer clown you're looking for.
That's right.
Can I have it?
Sorry, I'm keeping this as evidence.
You should have told the cops.
I did. They weren't interested. Have you ever seen this man before?
What a slimy character. No, I never seed him.
Take a look at this, McGuire.
It's an ID card. What of it?
Ever heard of Thomas Merren or the Gruber Electronics Corporation?
No.
Do you recognize this matchbook, McGuire?
No, sir. I never seen it before in my life.
Give me your hand.
Get lost.
Oh, come on. I just want to show you a little trick.
No way, mister. I don't do tricks. Father Mahoney told me I'd burn in hell if I did.
I just want to shake your hand, that's all.
Oh, all right.
Gotcha. Neat, huh?
Didn't feel a thing.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Nothing.
See you later, kid.
Okay, mister.
The white whiskers on the bartender's flushed face were like garlands on a Christmas tree. The resemblance ended there. The top of his head was too slick and shiny to act as a perch for a Christmas angel. It was an electric glass washer. It looked even older than the barman. It was a telephone, incongruous in the rustic setting of the homely bar. The end of the bar was hinged, like the drawbridge on a medieval castle.
Hey, where do you think you're going?
Excuse me?
No customers behind the bar. Ever.
The guy with the fiddle seemed oblivious to everything except his playing. Meanwhile, everyone else in the bar seemed oblivious to him. I recognized the guy from McGuire's description. He was real twitchy. Mr. Fitzgerald?
What?
I need to speak with you urgently.
What's the problem?
What can you tell me about the castle?
There's nothing there. Just an old ruin.
How old?
I really couldn't tell you.
Have you ever explored the castle yourself?
I used to play there sometimes, when I was a kid. Then one of the little ones fell off the wall, broke his head and died. We didn't go there anymore.
You haven't been up there recently?
No.
Do you know Professor Pegram?
He's the archaeologist, isn't he?
That's right. Where can I find Professor Pegram?
I heard he's gone fishing. I don't know where.
Did you work at Professor Pegram's dig?
What gave you that idea?
McGuire says you did.
You don't believe that damned hooligan, do you?
Why not?
His probation officer could tell you a tale or two.
Have you heard about the gem which Pegram found?
I heard a rumour, but you can't believe everything you hear or see, can you?
Can I get you another drink?
Oh, no thank you. I shouldn't be drinking at all. I'm on tablets for my nerves. More than a pint and I'll pass out.
What did this red nose suggest to you?
Blood.
Why's that?
I used to bleed a lot when I was a kid. Every time there was a playground scrap, I'd end up with a bloody nose. I wouldn't have minded, but I wasn't even involved in the scraps.
What did this red nose suggest to you?
Nothing.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, at least I don't think so.
Look closely. He has a scar on his face.
No, I'm sure I don't know him.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I'm sure I don't know him.
Check out this pass.
Yeah, it's yours, is it?
Not exactly. Do you recognize the name?
Thomas Merren? No, never heard of him.
What do you think this tool is used for?
Something to do with horses?
Wrong. It's for opening manhole covers.
Oh, really? Well, you learn something every day.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
No,
Shake my hand.
it's a trick, isn't it?
Damn it, you're right. I can't seem to fool anyone. What does this tissue suggest to you?
Nothing.
See you later. I'd been taught not to judge people by their appearance or their clothes or the length of their hair. Nobody ever said anything about runny noses. Hi there, old-timer.
What?
Nasty cold you've got there. As soon as the words left my lips, I regretted them.
Is there such a thing as a cold which isn't nasty? I put the question to Father Mahoney. Father, says I, why were we born to suffer snot?
What did he say?
He said, it's my reward for being out all night like a sinner. Pious prig. Anyway, this is no ordinary cold. 'Tis the hay fever.
Pollinosis?
Thank you. You're not a policeman, are you?
Excuse me?
Police? No, I'd know it if you were.
Can I buy you a beer?
Very kind, I'm sure, but I don't drink the stuff Leary sells.
What's wrong with it?
I've seen what it can do.
Can you tell me how to get into the castle?
Don't even think about it, me bucko. LOCHMARNE Castle is haunted.
That's what the kid outside told me, but I don't believe it.
Then you're a fool.
Ghosts don't bother me. I still want to visit that castle.
You can't. It's not open to the public.
There's no one around to stop me, is there?
That's right. Nothing human, anyhow.
Do you know Pegram, the archaeologist?
That's the scrawny fellow who was poking around at the castle, isn't it? No, I don't know him.
Do you know where I can find Pegram?
I told you, I never heard of him.
Were you aware that Pegram was conducting an archaeological dig?
I don't meddle in other people's affairs. They don't interest me.
Have you ever seen the ghost?
To be sure, with me very own eyes.
Can you describe the ghost?
It was horrible. A wee stunted beast, long beak, straggly, flappy wings.
Are you sure it wasn't a wild animal? A rabbit or a skunk or something?
Skunk? In LOCHMARNE? That'll be the day. No, that was a ghost, to be sure.
I think I know what you saw on the castle wall.
I know what I saw.
I don't think so. It was the kid, McGuire.
What?
He was up on the wall last Tuesday night. He thought you were the Phantom of LOCHMARNE.
Oh!
What does this red nose mean to you?
I suppose you're collecting for charity?
No, I'm not. I want to know if you've seen someone wearing a nose like this.
No, I haven't.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Is that supposed to be you?
No, I don't have a scar on my face and I'm not from the Middle East.
I can't tell without me glasses.
Take a look at this ID card.
Take a look. Oh, yes. Little plastic picture.
I don't suppose it means anything to you, does it?
No.
Can you identify this tool?
No.
What does this matchbook mean to you?
Nothing. Go away and stop bothering me.
Hey, would you like to shake my... No, on second thought, forget it. You could make use of this tissue.
Never use them. Those things are unhygienic.
I'll see you later. Hello again.
What?
What's that you're making?
It's a necklace, me bucko.
Oh, sure. Made out of steel wire?
That's right. A necklace for my pretty one. When my little lover feels it round her slender neck, she'll be mine. All mine.
If I was a woman, I wouldn't think much of a wire necklace.
It's not made for a woman. I've got my sights on tastier dishes than women. Flesh as smooth and tender as a maiden's. Bones as soft and white as a newborn babe's. Rabbit, lad. That's what gets my juices flowing.
Ah, so you're making snares to trap rabbits.
That's right. Do you have a problem with that?
Damn right I do. Isn't it painful?
Only if I get me fingers caught.
I'm talking about the rabbits. Do they feel much pain?
You bet.
I'll see you later. As soon as the old guy looked away, I grabbed his piece of wire. The white whiskers on the bartender's flushed face were like garlands on a Christmas tree. The resemblance ended there. The top of his head was too slick and shiny to act as a perch for a Christmas angel. Top of the morning to you.
I beg your pardon.
Well, that's what you Irish say, isn't it?
Do you want something? Or are you just flaunting your xenophobia?
Well, I was trying to be sociable.
Is it a room you're after?
That's not a bad idea. Do you have a vacancy?
I could, if you don't mind waiting until the last guest checks out.
No problem. When will that be?
When the undertaker comes to collect him.
I'll try a glass of beer, please.
Is this your first pint of real ale?
Well, I guess so. What's real ale, anyhow?
Beer that's brewed from natural ingredients to traditional methods. It shouldn't be kept under pressure or refrigerated. And finally, it should have a good body and distinctive character.
In other words, it's flat and worn with bits in, and it makes you fall over.
What can you tell me about the castle?
You're the second person to ask me that today. I don't know anything about the castle. It's only an old ruin anyway.
Who else was asking about the castle?
He said he was a reporter. He was asking about the little people.
I could have told him a tale or two about the little people. He might have paid me to hear what he wanted me to say.
Anyway, I chucked him out on his arse.
Good for you, Mick. That's the way to deal with journalists.
Have you served any, clowns recently?
No, you're the first today.
Seriously, I'm looking for a man dressed in a clown costume.
Would he be having a little white dog with a black patch over the eye?
I shouldn't think so. Do you know a man called Pegram?
Indeed I do. Are you a friend of his, by any chance?
In a manner of speaking, I am.
Right, me boyo, 160 quid he owes me, pay up.
That's Pegram's business, not mine.
Ah, but he's done a bunk, hasn't he? Scampered.
I know. That's why I'm here, to look for him.
And what about the money he owes me?
When I find him, I'll remind him about it. Did Pegram stay here?
Yes, he did. 6 nights plus breakfast.
He couldn't have had breakfast this morning, not unless he had it afore he went to bed.
What the hell are you talking about, Doyle?
The history fella. I seen him this morning, crack of dawn. I had to get up at 4 o'clock to see to the missus.
I didn't know your wife was sick, Pat.
She's not. Anyhow, I went out to empty the bucket, and what do you think I saw?
For the love of God, Doyle, get to the point.
It was the history man, heading out to the village, on a bicycle.
I knew it. Hand over me money, or I'll throw you out.
Can I see Peagram's room?
It's been taken by one of the brothers from the reformatory. They come every year for spiritual refreshment.
That's a good one. Their idea of refreshment is a gutful of stout.
I wouldn't want to disturb a man of God, especially not a big fella from the bad boys' home.
I don't blame you, Mick. That brother's got muscles like a muscle man.
About Fitzgerald.
Don't change the subject. Are you going to pay me Peagram's rent or not?
No way. Listen, I'm not really his friend. I've never even met the guy. But I need to find Peagram urgently. I think his life is in danger.
Damn right it is.
Excuse me for butting in, Michael, but I think the young fella's telling the truth.
I'm sorry I bit your head off, sir.
Well, that's okay. I understand. I guess. Do you know Sean Fitzgerald very well?
I know him enough not to sell him more than 2 pints. He's like a kid when he gets a few beers inside him.
Oh, I'm not surprised. He's on medication for his nerves.
There's nothing wrong with his nerves. He's just screwy.
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
It's not Red Nose Day again, is it?
I don't know. But this is part of a clown's costume.
I know that. Good God Almighty. What do you take me for?
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Do you recognize this man?
No, I don't. What do you want with him?
I've got a score to settle.
I don't want any trouble in the bar, mister. If it's a fight you're looking for, see Father Mahoney.
A priest? A man of the cloth?
Sure. And he teaches the boys how to box at the youth club. According to Mahoney, it develops character. Isn't that right, Pat? Didn't he teach you the art of pugilism? Doyle.
Sorry, Michael. I was miles away. What did you say?
Never mind.
Does this piece of wire mean anything to you?
Good God, man. Put it away.
What's the problem?
Don't play the innocent with me, mister. What you do with that wire is your own business, but don't drag me into it.
Do you recognize the name on this card?
No. Should I?
Nah, it was a long shot. Here's something which might interest you.
Huh? Oh, what is it?
My passport to the sewers of Paris.
Is that so? Did you see the snooker last night, Mr. O'Brien?
We haven't got a television, Michael.
I know that. Why is it, if you don't mind me asking?
If God had meant us to watch television, we'd all be like Doyle.
I take it no one wants to hear about my underground escapades.
I'd rather drink me own beer.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
No, sir.
Hey, bartender?
Landlord, if you don't mind.
Sorry. Shake my hand, why don't you?
Now, why should I do that? What have you got up your sleeve?
Nothing. Come on, just shake my hand.
Not just now, mister. I have to be careful on account of the health restrictions.
Oh, jeez. Does this tissue mean anything to you?
That's disgusting.
Uh-huh. I found it in the sewers.
What's the idea of waving it around in my face? You're worse than old Ron. Put it away, man.
Thanks. There was a vacant look on his cow-like face that said quite clearly, "Nobody home." His elbow rested on an obviously soggy piece of cowl. Hi, my name's Stobbart, George Stobbart.
Hello there, mister. What can I do for you?
Can you tell me anything about the castle on the hill?
Oh, I don't know much about anything. You should ask Mr. O'Brien here. He does joined up writing. Would you be one of them history fellas yourself?
That's right, Professor Stobbart, Miskatonic University.
You're an archaeologist, and you're asking us about the castle.
Excuse me, Mr. O'Brien. The gentleman was talking to me. How come you didn't leave with the others?
I didn't know they'd gone until the landlord told me. Do you know Professor Pegram?
Do I know him? Do I know the good professor himself? No, I don't. I mean, I know who he is, but I don't know him to talk to.
Do you know anything about Pegram's excavation?
Only that he didn't have the right tools for the job. What he needed was shovels and a JCB.
Pegram was digging for historical remains, not coal.
Is that a fact? What the hell for?
Here's the science of archaeology part. Understanding how people used to live by what they've left behind. One day archaeologists might be digging up our remains.
Imagine that, Mr. O'Brien. I wonder what they'll find.
Well, it won't be arrowheads and beakers. Fast food cartons and flavoured condoms, more likely.
Did anyone from the village work at Pegram's dig?
I tried it myself, but that high and mighty history man called me incontinent. What a nerve. Hadn't I dug more holes than the rest of them put together?
Do you remember seeing Sean Fitzgerald at the dig?
Let me see now. I think me brain box needs a spot of lubrication.
Can I buy you a drink?
You most certainly can.
Give me a drink for my friend here.
Who, Doyle? Has he conned you into buying for him? Shame on you, Patrick. Same again.
Just a point this time, Michael.
1 point of brown coming up.
Do you remember Sean Fitzgerald now?
I can picture the scene as if it was only last week. Come to think of it, it was only last week. Fitzgerald was there all right. Him and a bunch of students. He was speaking with the boss man.
Is it true that Pegram found a valuable gem?
What? First I heard of it.
Where have you been, Pat? That gem is the talk of every town from LOCHMARNE to Ballydoon.
Nobody told me. The lucky sod. So that's why he scampered.
What does this false nose mean to you?
No, you're a clown.
No, not me.
You're a good one, aren't you? Did you hear that, Michael?
I hate clowns.
Listen to this fella. I hate clowns, says he. Isn't he just the funniest man you ever did see, Michael?
He's not a clown, Doyle. He's not even remotely funny.
Thanks. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
It's a handsome mug on that fella, to be sure. Is he a film star?
Don't be fooled. This is the face of a psychopathic killer.
No. Well, there's one in the eye for me and my men.
Does this piece of wire mean anything to you?
Not me, mister.
Does this security pass mean anything to you?
Well, no.
What do you make of this tool?
It's for lifting manhole covers.
That's right. I found it in Paris.
Well, you look at that. A French sewer key. Marvellous.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
No.
May I shake your hand?
No, you can't.
Well, how come?
Because I'll spill me beer if you do.
Does this tissue mean anything to you?
No. But you should show that to my granny. She could tell you fortune from it.
From a soiled tissue?
Sure. Some people read tea leaves. My granny reads handkerchiefs.
Bye for now. The guy sat in the corner as if he was a permanent fixture. Hello there. My name's George Stobbart.
Pleased to meet you, I'm sure. I'm O'Brien. Can I help you?
What can you tell me about the castle, Mr. O'Brien?
It's a fine site now, isn't it? Dates back to the 10th century, you know. Most of the existing building was added much later, of course.
Are the ruins open to the public?
Oh no, it's much too dangerous. Anyway, there's nothing of interest remaining.
Pegram thought otherwise, didn't he?
Ah, but it's not difficult to get them history boys excited, is it? Give them a bone to play with, and they're happy as puppies.
Was it Pegram who dug up the tripod at the castle?
The same man, if he wasn't his twin brother. And can you guess what he did with the tripod?
He sent it to a museum in Paris. I've seen it. How can I get into the castle?
Well, those walls were built specifically to stop people getting in, Mr. Stobbart. But I dare say you'll find a way, if you've the will.
Do you know where I can find Pegram?
You're too late to meet that fella.
Is he dead?
Not that, but he's gone from the village. A sore point with our esteemed host, I might add.
Do you know where Pegram has gone?
I'm sorry, but I don't. He upped anchor in the dark and shipped out before the dawn.
Why did he do that?
Who knows? A guilty conscience or a secret assignation. Whatever the reason, he'll not be missed in LOCHMARNE. Maybe now the fuss about the gem has died down, we can get back to normal.
What can you tell me about the gem which Pegram found?
Now there's a gem which should never have been taken. A man would have to be full of greed to covet that stone. What's your interest in the jewel? You're not a reporter, are you?
Yes, that's right.
And not a bloody news hound. Well, you're wasting your time here, boy. You'll find the people of LOCHMARNE are a tight-lipped and cautious lot.
Why? Have you got something to hide?
It's just that we don't like to wash our dirty laundry in public.
Why has Pegram's departure upset the landlord?
Well, why don't you ask him yourself, Mr. Ace Reporter?
Can you tell me more about the landlord?
What's your game? Keep your nose out of our business, mister.
Does this red nose suggest anything to you?
It's a clown's nose, isn't it? I haven't been to a circus since I was 10 years old. O'Donnelly and I walked all the way to Ballymore, 15 miles in our bare feet.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Nope, I've never seen him before.
What do you make of this piece of wire?
It looks ordinary enough to me.
What can you tell me about this ID pass?
Grube Electronics. I've never heard of it.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
I'd say it was for lifting manhole covers.
How come you know that?
I'm a man of the world, Mr. Stobbart.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
The design is Middle Eastern, I'd say.
I'd like to shake you by the hand, Mr. O'Brien.
I'd rather not. You see, I happen to notice that vibrating buzzer in your palm.
What do you make of this tissue?
I guess that muck on it is grease paint.
There's no fooling you, Mr. O'Brien. Goodbye for now.
Good riddance to you.
Hey, Maguire.
What do you want to know?
I heard that Pegram had found a legendary gem.
That's right. It's been the talk of LOCHMARNE all week.
You haven't seen the gem, have you?
Hell no. I reckon Pegram made off with it. If I was him, I'd go to Amsterdam, chop it up and sell it. He could be living the life of Riley instead of digging holes.
Are you sure Fitzgerald worked at the dig?
Oh yes, it was him all right. Would I tell a lie?
Well, he denies it.
I saw them together only last night.
I wish you'd told me that sooner. What were they doing?
Pegram gave Fitzy a box. He didn't look too happy about it.
I knew it. But how am I going to persuade him to part with it?
Break his fingers.
Nah, I couldn't do that.
I could.
Thanks for the offer, kid, but I'll try a more subtle approach.
Chinese burns?
Do you know where I could find Fitzgerald?
He's inside, but you won't get no sense out of him.
How come? Is he drunk?
He's like a frightened rabbit. A real bag of nerves. Why, the fella's scared of his own shadow.
What's Fitzgerald scared of?
Everything and everyone.
So I shouldn't have any trouble getting him to talk.
He's a pushover, but don't scare him too much. Try the soft touch. Butter him up a bit.
See you later, kid.
Okay, mister. Hello.
Maguire says he saw you working at the dig. What's more, he saw you talking with Pegram.
I knew this would happen. I knew I'd get caught.
Doyle told me you definitely worked at the dig. He's seen you there. You might as well admit it.
Just my luck. Grasped up by a delinquent and a dimwit.
I need to talk to Professor Pegram, if he's still alive.
What do you mean? Is he in danger?
Yeah, you too, if I'm right.
You're not from the Social Security.
Hell no. What makes you think that?
Well, I was claiming benefit at the same time I was working for Pegram.
I'm not in a position to make judgments, Sean. That's between you and your conscience. All I want is to talk to Pegram about the gem.
But he's not here.
I know that. But he left that package with you, didn't he? What did Pegram find at the castle?
The entrance to an underground chamber. It was filled with earth and rubble, and Pegram had us dig it out. We uncovered a secret room, a hidden chapel.
Did Pegram find the gem in the altar room?
I don't know. He made us leave and wouldn't tell us why. Half an hour later he came out, white as a sheet he was. He closed down the dig and locked up the castle, sent us all away.
From the sound of it, Pegram had discovered more than just the gem. So where did Pegram go?
I don't know. I swear it. He came to see me early this morning. Said he was leaving. He asked me to give this package to a guy called Marquet.
Show me what's in the package, Sean.
I can't do that.
Why not?
I promised the professor.
So what? You didn't have any qualms about your benefit scam. So where's the harm in taking a peek inside Pegram's package?
You don't know these people. I can't. I don't dare.
This is your last chance to show me the package, Fitzgerald. I've been patient with you, but now it's time to kick ass.
But he'll kill me.
Who will?
The man from Paris. Jack Marquet. Pegram told me if I gave him the package unopened, I'd hear no more about it. But if I double-crossed Marquet, I'd be dead.
I'll deal with Jacques Marquet.
No!
Give the package to me.
No, why should I trust you? I don't know who to trust anymore. I wish I'd never even heard of the LOCHMARNE gem. Hey, I just seen a big red...
Get out of here, Maguire. Come back when you're old enough.
What's the lad howling about?
A big red sports car. Sean Fitzgerald's been runned over.
Get out! Noisy little tyke.
Maybe you should send out some medicinal brandy, Michael.
Oh, yes? And who's going to pay for it?
Not me.
Me too, neither.
I was telling the truth about Fitzy, mister.
Okay, calm down. Now tell me what happened.
I was standing here, minding me own business, when I saw this beautiful red sports car coming up over the hill. Would you look at that, says I, and I going over to take a closer look. Next thing, Fitzy comes tearing out of the pub and nearly knocks me on my ass, when the car just flies at him. It was too fast for poor old Fitzy, and hit him an awful wallop. He goes flying up on top. Jesus, says I thought he was a goner. Next thing, the driver hops out, and I couldn't believe my eyes. He was dressed like a bloody pixie.
Did Fitzgerald drop anything when he was hit?
I didn't see. It all happened so fast.
Did this pixie have a scar on his cheek?
I couldn't see. He was wearing a stupid mask. Are you a special agent?
Sorry to disappoint you, kid, but I'm not. See you later, kid.
Okay, mister.
The man's arm lay across the towel, preventing me from moving it. Hey!
Hello there again, mister.
What do you know about leprechauns, Doyle?
Leprechauns! Is it the little people you're talking about? Sure, and a cousin of mine was wed to one.
Oh, come on. Do you really expect me to believe that?
It's the truth, I'm telling you. She fell asleep on a fairy ring, see? When she woke up, there he was. A little fella, all in green.
Tell me more about your cousin and the leprechaun.
Oh, no.
Well, young Mary was speechless, especially when the leprechaun up and spoke to her. Be my bride, me darling, says he, and she'll never want for riches again. Okay, says she, and he slips a ring of daisies on her finger.
Amen.
So there you are, proof that the little people exist.
Well, that's no proof. All you have is her word for it.
Not so. The following spring, she had a little baby.
Did the leprechaun's promise come true?
What promise was that now?
That she'd never want for riches again.
Now, there's the strangest thing. She never did.
I thought you said she was claiming the social part.
Indeed, Mr. O'Brien. But there's riches and riches. She told me, Pat, she says, that little darling boy is all the riches in the world to me.
Bye for now. As the man raised his arm to drink, I snatched the towel away. Somehow, I'd managed to drink the thick, sweet brew. I felt strangely compelled to order another, even though my every instinct warned me against it. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
May I have another beer, please?
Certainly, sir. Same again?
Yeah, please. How is this stuff made?
That's the secret of the master brewer, sir. Each barrel is lovingly manhandled in time-honoured fashion, suspended on skillfully tied ropes of the finest hemp, lowered into the cellar utilising the forces of original gravity, like manna from heaven.
Thanks. I was about to reach for the pump when I came to my senses. A rash move like that in a strange country with strange customs could be my last. The plastic cover had been smashed by the Pixie's car, revealing a switch. I pushed the switch down, but in doing so it snapped off in my hand. Somehow, I'd managed to drink the thick, sweet brew. I felt strangely compelled to order another, even though my every instinct warned me against it. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Hey, how about another drink?
Same again?
Do you serve cocktails?
I'll serve anyone with manners and money.
No, I'm serious. Have you considered turning McDevitt's into a cocktail bar? Cocktails are chic, cool, and popular with younger drinkers.
What? Kids in the bar? Can you imagine it? Pinball, pimples, and puke.
Right, I get the picture. I'll settle for a glass of stout.
I'm sorry, but the pump appears to be broken.
I could fix it for you.
I don't think so. This is a job for a professional electrician. Oh well, at least the glass washer is still working. It's not my idea, is it?
It just so happens I'm an electrician. Check out my credentials.
Well, no. Isn't that marvellous? Here's a house bedevilled with faulty wiring of a wayward nature. Here's you, an electric man, with a little plastic card to prove it. I still want to see what you can do before I let you touch me beer pumps. You can make a start on the glass washer. And when you finish that, will you take a look at the pumps?
It was an electrical plug attached to the glass washer. I used all my knowledge of electrical engineering to examine the plug. Seemed fine to me. I replaced the fuse with a piece of wire. I knew it was dangerous, but I was desperate enough to disregard everything I knew about standard safety precautions. Excuse me, Mr. Leary. I fixed your glass washer, no problem.
Bingo! And a blessing to all the saints. A free half-pint to that man, on the house. Now, could you take a look at the beer pumps?
Well, I guess so, but I'm not making any promises.
If you can't fix them, I'll have a riot on me hands.
The pumps are in the cellar, right?
That's right. You'll find a flashlight down there somewhere.
What a dumb place to store a flashlight. A dark cellar. The only way I was going to find anything down there was to feel around. My hand closed on a long metal rod. I pushed the lever and heard the grating of metal, but nothing appeared to happen. It was a trap door in the sidewalk. I lifted the trap door and an overpowering smell of stale beer rose from the cellar below. I looked down on a stone-tiled floor, way too far to jump.
Excuse me.
There was a nasty feeling in my guts I usually associated with light opera. It was Khan. What's the problem?
Did you see what happened here a few minutes ago?
What was that?
A man was involved in an unfortunate accident.
I didn't see anything.
What about the boy?
He doesn't know anything either. The kid, well, you know how it is in these rural communities. Not enough genes to go round. I prayed McGuire had the sense to keep his mouth shut. Was the guy hurt bad?
He's been taken care of, but he thinks he dropped a small parcel. You didn't happen to find it, did you?
If I had, I would have taken it to the police.
Of course. Thank you.
Then I noticed a flash of light, something sparkling beneath the open trapdoor. It was Peagrim's gem, all right. A large, uncut blue stone. As I held it aloft, I realized the fascination it could command. I guess I was already under its spell.
Did you find it?
What?
Whatever you was looking for.
Yeah. Listen, McGuire, I want you to keep this to yourself.
No problemo. Just chuck us up a crate of lager.
No way, you're not old enough.
We can sell it and make some cash.
Forget it, kid. I couldn't betray Mr. Leary's trust.
I could, for sure. That old misery guts deserves it.
If you want to do me a favor, keep a lookout for that guy in the suit.
Okay. But it'll cost you a packet of chips.
Oh, and shout if you see that Ferrari. I searched the trash, but there was nothing useful there. It was a rusty faucet. The faucet creaked, coughed, and spewed out a stream of rusty-colored water. I held the towel under the faucet and soaked it with water. I shut off the faucet as tight as I could, but it kept on dripping. The farmer's craggy face was set in a mask of aesthetic appreciation. His feet were set in a pair of manure-caked boots. Hi, do you speak English?
Well, now, what if I was to say no? An implication of cognizance shrouded in denial. A pretty poser of a paradox indeed.
I gave him the look I'd perfected when I was 12 and was going to be the greatest hypnotist of all time. It was a killer.
Are you attempting to hypnotize me, or is it the constipation you're suffering?
I was a little out of practice. Good book?
A book? It's a passport to a world of fantasy and imagination.
Yeah, what's the title?
Creative Shelving for Beginners, the 1978 edition.
What's so cool about home improvement?
There's nothing like it. The resinous autumnal aroma of seasoned wood, the rhythmic rasp of the plate. Ah, no wonder our Lord came to earth as the son of a humble carpenter. I bet he was a wizard with a chisel and a length or two before.
Surely the portrayal of Christ's adoptive family as humble artisans is a symbolic metaphor.
I don't know about that, but I know they were carpenters. Haven't you read the book?
Well, no. But I have seen the greatest story ever told, and I don't recall Jesus putting up any shelves. What can you tell me about the castle?
Not much, I'm sorry to say. Most of its history is long forgotten. Ah, but if these old stones could only speak, what stories they'd tell. Stories to make your toes curl and your blood run cold. You know, this castle is said to be over 600 years old.
Have you seen Professor Pegram?
No, he's packed up and gone.
Do you happen to know where?
Back in England, I suppose.
Do you think Peagram's disappearance is due to the curse?
Look at the facts. He dug up the gem. He disappeared. Bingo. It doesn't take a degree in mathematics to work that one out, does it? You don't have to be a smarty Pythagoras with a calculator.
I guess not.
Pegram has run off with the gem.
Did you happen to see a red sports car down on the road?
I caught a glimpse of a flash of red on the hill and heard the racket. Sure, it was an awful noise. A sports car, you say?
A Ferrari, to be exact.
A racing car? And what was it doing here? The poor fella must have been lost.
The driver of the Ferrari was involved in an accident.
Is that so?
Yeah, he knocked somebody down outside the bar.
What an idiot! How could a thing like that happen?
He was traveling too fast.
So fast, he ran right under the car?
I mean, the car was traveling too fast.
But you'd have thought the idiot could have heard it coming.
Maybe you know the guy who was hit by the Ferrari. His name is Sean Fitzgerald.
Oh, I know him all right. That's me nephew, the idiot responsible for the stacking of my hay cart. Was he killed by the car?
Oh no, but he has been abducted.
Well, that's a relief now.
Aren't you going to look for your nephew?
What for? From what you say, it's too late.
Well, you could report the matter to the police.
Better not. Besides, what could they do?
Well, they could mount a search.
They have only the one bicycle between them. In a question of superior acceleration, I'd put me money on the Ferrari.
I think you ought to know exactly what Sean has gotten himself into.
I'm not sure I want to know.
But you're his uncle, his own flesh and blood.
You're right, but what can I do? If I'm not here to guard it, some idiot might try to climb the haystack. What a moral dilemma. Stay here and guard this potentially lethal agricultural construction, or to go off in search of the prodigal nephew, the very man responsible for said hazard? It'll need some thinking about.
Why, there's no problem.
You're right. Why didn't I think of it before? We'll demolish the haystack.
You don't have to demolish the haystack to go look for Sean. I'll stay here in your place and warn anyone who's silly enough to climb it.
Marvellous! I think I should start me inquiries in the bar.
He strode off in the direction of McDevitt's bar, leaving me to contemplate the stack of hay. On the back of the cart was a crazily stacked tower of hay bales, leaning precariously against the castle wall. The stack of hay stopped, short of the top of the wall. Even if I stretched as far as I could, the wall was out of reach. What I needed was a slice or two of Alice's Wonderland. There was a narrow crack between two of the stones where the centuries-old mortar had crumbled away. I inserted the end of the lifting key in the mortarless crack and gave it a firm shove. It remained lodged in the wall, jutting out to form a step. It was the fiercest, meanest-looking old goat I'd ever laid eyes upon. The top of a ladder rose out of the squarely dug hole. It was a rusted piece of iron, maybe part of a plow or something. The rope by which the goat was tethered had become tangled on the old plowshare. The goat was tangled up with the old plow. There was a pattern of 5 holes arranged on the wall. They'd been drilled there deliberately. I placed my fingers and thumb into the holes in the wall. Nothing happened. Behind the altar was a carved panel decorated with animals, birds, and plants. I tried in vain to move the panel. The bench had probably been used by Pegram and his archaeological team. The sack contained a fine white powder. As I dipped my fingers into the soft white powder, I realized what it was. Plaster of Paris. I'd used it in kindergarten to make casts of animal paw prints. It was a statue which had fallen from its place on the wall. 5 fingers of stone projected from the back of the carving. The statue was too heavy to lift. It overbalanced into the sand. As I swung the stone upright, I noticed it had left a pattern of holes in the sand. I sprinkled the plaster on the sand until the holes were filled. I squeezed the towel as hard as I could, but it was barely damp. The faucet creaked, coughed, and spewed out a stream of rusty-colored water. I held the towel under the faucet and soaked it with water. The farmer was drinking and chatting with his pals as if nothing had happened. Maybe abduction had replaced cattle raiding as their national pastime. The trickle of water was quickly absorbed by the plaster. A lump of hardened plaster lay on the sand at my feet. The plaster cast was a pretty neat replica of the back of the stone, complete with protruding fingers. I eased the solid piece of plaster from the sand. Underneath, it had formed a perfect copy of the statue. The hardened plaster cast fitted snugly into the 5 matching sockets. There was a soft thud, then silence. A flight of stairs led down into darkness.
So, where did you stay last night?
At McDevitt's. I got to drinking with Doyle and a couple of the guys.
That explains why you look so ill today. Did you get any sleep at all?
Not much. I had to share the room with another guy.
Did he snore?
Hardly. He was dead. Then Leary woke me in the middle of the night to help bail out the cellar.
The cellar was flooded?
Yeah, some idiot had left the faucet running.
And you say Pegram has disappeared?
Without a trace. But my visit wasn't a complete waste of time.
Pegram's gem?
The Templars' gem. Whoever Jacques Marquet is, he's in for a disappointment.
Jacques Marquet?
He's the guy who should have collected the gem from Fitzgerald.
What are your plans?
I want to find out who, what, or where Montfaucon was. All I've got to go by is the name and a picture of a hanged man. Let's take another look at the manuscript. That's the gem that Pegram found in Lochmarne. That's the tripod in the CRUNE Museum. There's a woman looking at her reflection in a mirror, but the reflection has 3 hideous faces. The ninth scroll bears a phrase in Latin, "Through my teachings, you will be enlightened." There's a guy working on a loom. There's a guy with a sword and a bull. Between them is a gem supported by a tripod. I can't sit here all day, much as I'd like to.
Okay. Don't forget to look for Lobinot at the CRUNE Museum. And why don't you see if Rosso has heard anything?
Okay. Anything else I can do for you while I'm out? Shopping, a trip to the laundromat?
Just take care of yourself.
Excuse me.
What do you want now?
Have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic in the Avenue des Hérissons.
Why was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
I'd like to report an assault.
Yes, monsieur? Where is the victim?
I'm the victim. I've been harassed by a pair of thugs.
I see. And where did this alleged assault take place?
Outside the Hotel Ubu. They stopped me as I was leaving and went through my pockets.
Could you describe the suspects, monsieur?
One looked like a gorilla, and the other looked like a weasel. Their names are Flap and Guido.
Bon. I'll get them this time.
What are you going to do about Flap and Guido, Sergeant?
I'm going to bust them, monsieur. For years I have been hoping to pin something on that pair. Now's my chance. I'll show them, and the inspector.
Thanks, Sergeant. Thanks for taking me seriously.
I'm only doing my duty, monsieur.
Do you know a man named Khan? He's a shifty-looking guy with a scar on his left cheek.
No, monsieur. Has this man any connection with the bombing of the café?
Yes. I believe Khan was the name he used when he hired the clown costume. Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. It's Stobbart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo. What now, monsieur?
Ever heard of a guy called Marquet? Jacques Marquet?
Marquet? I know the name well. He has a record for suspected blackmail, kidnapping, arson, and art theft.
An all-rounder, huh? How come he's on the loose?
His bravado is matched only by the courtroom skills of his attorney.
Have you heard of Professor Pegram, the archaeologist?
Molly Pegram, the second son of Lord Barclay Pegram.
I don't know. I only read about him in a magazine.
So much for the efficacy of rehabilitation. What has he done this time?
He made an important archaeological find in Ireland. Do you know Pegram well?
I have connections with the family, but I wouldn't say I knew him at all.
Is his name really Molly?
Of course not. That was the nickname he was given at school. All his friends and acquaintances know him as Molly.
Do you know a pair of thugs called Flap and Guido?
I have known those two since they graduated from special school. Flap is a nasty piece of work, but Guido is the real brains of the partnership. Where did you hear of them?
I met them out front of the Hotel Ubu. So long, Inspector. The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions looked like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint. There was no sign of the crew of the ambulance. I felt a little guilty as I tried the door, like I was about to rob a grave. I gripped the handle with an involuntary tremble in my hand and pulled. The door was locked. The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. I figured he was fresh from college. Hi, my name's George Stobbart.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Bunny.
Bunny?
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit. Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
Not me, sir.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Merren?
No, sir.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Isn't that used to snap the patient's ribs when exploring the abdomen?
I hope not. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No, sir.
Do you know what this white powder is?
No, sir.
Shake my hand, Benoit.
I don't think that's a good idea, sir.
How come?
Dermatitis.
I don't have dermatitis.
I do.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Is that a nasal discharge, sir?
No, it's grease paint. See you later.
Right.
The woman managed to look overworked and hassled, though she didn't appear to be doing anything. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plans. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
Yeah, I'm his, long-lost brother.
A brother half his age with a different name and an American accent.
Yeah, people always say that. I blame Mom. We were separated at an early age, after a mix-up in the nursery at the Oakland shopping mall.
I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life.
I guess not. So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
That attitude will get you nowhere. My instructions were quite clear. No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, you're wasting your time here.
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the Bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
What does this false nose remind you of?
Oh, it's a clown's nose.
That's right.
Why don't you give me a break and go and play with someone else?
Have you seen this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
What does this gem suggest to you?
I advise you not to flash that around. The hospital insurance wouldn't cover it if it was stolen.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Is it a crack detector?
Huh?
Polar explorers use them to poke about in the snow.
No. Have you heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds romantic, doesn't it? The kind of place where you get little umbrellas and whelks.
Huh? That's romantic? Is this plaster any use to you?
I'm allergic to plaster.
I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Don't be fresh, young man.
Can you think of any use for this greasy tissue?
I guess you could use it to baste a roast turkey.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today, he was working on his withering stare. Hi, my name's George Stobbart.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist.
I'm looking for a guy named Jacques Marquet.
In which department does he work?
He doesn't. He's a patient.
I see. You do realize there are strict policies regarding visiting hours, don't you?
This is important. I have to talk to Marquet urgently.
We make no exceptions to the rules.
It's a matter of life and death.
The well-oiled running of this hospital is a matter of life and death. That's why we have rules.
I think I ought to warn you that Marquet is not what he seems.
Explain yourself.
He's in league with a bunch of guys who want to take over the world.
Nonsense. Besides, Marquet's employers have paid in advance for one of our most exclusive private rooms.
Could you tell me who Marquet's employers are?
Certainly not.
Do you recognize this red nose, sir?
No, I do not. This is a hospital, not a circus ring. We minister to the sick in body, not the sick in mind.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
I have to take this gem to Marquet. He might be able to explain its significance.
My dear chap, Marquet has other things on his mind right now.
Like what?
His catheter, for one.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, it does not.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
Sacre bleu! That's exactly what I needed in my last operation.
It is?
I had to improvise with a knitting needle and a couple of corks. If only you'd been on hand at the time. My patient would have given his right arm for it.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamat?
No, sir, I have not.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, sir, I do not pretend to know the pharmacist's job.
May I have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
What do you make of this tissue, sir?
Intéressant. I thought I knew the ins and outs of the human body, but this has me beat. If I were you, I'd have this sample analyzed.
Thanks for your help. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was on ward B12, as I recall. Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh dear. He's on ward J2. That's... Nurse Grendel's ward.
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock alarm call, 6:10 bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow. It was a classic example of functionalism, like an early Soviet spacecraft. I almost expected to see a dog or a monkey leap out. He looked blissfully happy, for no apparent reason.
Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the quarters?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Do you know a nurse called Grendel?
Sure I do.
Is she on duty today?
Yeah, end of the corridor, Ward J2.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years and he's never let me down once.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you?
No,
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind me back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull through.
Whatever you've got with this metal mopfoot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is? Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
Take a look at this red nose.
Are you a policeman?
No, this is a clown's nose, not a policeman's. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No.
What do you think of this, Sam?
Oh boy! What is it?
A priceless gemstone, found in a medieval castle in Ireland. Get me into Marquet's ward, and it's yours.
I don't wear jewellery.
If this gem was yours, you'd be able to buy 100 Mr. Shinies.
Don't be silly. There's only one Mr. Shiny.
Do you recognize this pass?
No, I don't. Should I?
No, but I wondered if you'd seen a stranger flashing it about.
No, sir. But if I had, Mr. Shiny would take care of him.
Would this tool be any use to you?
No, sir. Mr. Shiny has no user-serviceable parts. Whatever that means.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
You should never ever play with matches.
I know that, but...
People get hurt when they do.
Sure.
They end up in hospital, like the burger lady. She was so burned up, they didn't know whether to use bandages or onions.
Do you recognize this powder?
Is that dandruff?
No way.
It sure looks like dandruff.
It's plaster.
Ugh!
Would you like to shake my hand?
Not until I've washed, if you don't mind, sir. You can pick up all kinds of things in a hospital.
Like nurses, right?
No, sir. Bugs and germs. And fungal infections.
What does this tissue suggest to you?
You have a cold. What you need is vitamin C. And a side order of machine oil.
See you later.
Yeah, take care now.
The door didn't have a sign or label or any kind of identification.
Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard.
I guess the water cooler was for the use of people lost in the corridors. Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar.
Oui, monsieur.
Is this Ward J2?
It is, but you're not supposed to be here. We have strict rules about visiting hours.
Can't you make an exception? I've come all the way from California.
You must speak to the doctor.
I can't wait that long. What if he snuffs it?
You can't talk like that here. This is a hospital. You will have to leave.
Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
You can tell me how my brother is, can't you?
Of course, monsieur. What is his name?
Jacques Marquet.
Let me see. He's satisfactory.
I was told he was dying.
Well, he is, but the doctor described his condition as satisfactory. That's quite an improvement on yesterday.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Do you recognize this red nose?
Oh dear, I don't think he'll be needing that again.
Who?
Monsieur Boissy, the comatose clown.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I don't.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
It's beautiful, but I've never seen it before.
Do you know Merren of Gruber Electronics?
No, I don't.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
I don't recognize it.
Does this mean anything to you?
The Club Alamut? I've never heard of it.
Is this plaster any use to you?
No, it isn't.
Would you like to shake hands with me?
Well...
No, it's okay. Forget it. I didn't really want to use it on her anyway. Do you recognize this tissue?
No, I don't. It looks like a chronic health risk to me.
Well, I've been carrying it around for days and I'm okay. My pocket's getting a little soggy. Thank you, nurse.
You may come back at visiting time, monsieur.
Thanks. When is that?
The second Tuesday of each month.
The connector in the socket supplied electricity to the polishing machine. As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Dr. Stobbart at your service.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, Doctor.
Thank you, nurse. Well, who's first?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness. You'll need this, Doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks. Hi, I'm Dr. Stobbart.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember. It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, and then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute. Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney. Which bed is Marquet in?
He's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
Could you take a look at the client in bed number 3 now? His name is Eric Sopmarsh.
What's his problem?
He's delirious. He just now came out of theatre. He's recovering from major surgery.
I'll have him up and about before you can say, Lazarus, get out of your bed and walk. Hello? Anybody home?
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Stobbart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
See you later.
Doctor,
What is it?
you haven't taken my blood pressure.
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Of course I am.
No, you're not. Dr. Monroe never did it like that.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later.
Oh, Doctor,
What now?
you didn't finish taking my blood pressure.
Okay, let's try again.
You don't have the first idea what you're doing, do you?
I'll come back when you've recovered your manners. Excuse me, sir.
You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bernie, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeyer.
And may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary. I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
So long, Hagenmeyer. Hey, Benoit.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean I'd get my hands dirty with a nurse.
Shut up, Benoit.
Okay, sir.
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something. Follow me, Benoit.
I'm right behind you, sir.
Doctor?
What is it now, nurse?
Number 2 again. He won't tell me what he wants. He says he'll only talk to a man.
Do I have to? That guy's nuts.
Doctor, I'm surprised at you. There's no way to talk about our clients.
Okay, I'll see him. But I'm telling you, he's a hypochondriac. Hello again. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Nah, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
One of your colleagues?
No, he really is a murderer.
I've never seen him before.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir?
Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
Primed and ready to pump, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
He sat like a statue of a sack of potatoes, but the cop's eyes were as watchful as a hawk's. I'm Dr. Stobbart.
Bonjour, Doctor.
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, Doc. Right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks. Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How's the bear acting suspiciously?
Well, he was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Don't you think it's possible that the bear was a man in disguise?
Well, obviously, I'm not completely stupid. But who would go to the bother of disguising himself as a bear? It's not as if he'd blend in with the surroundings. I checked with base to see if any bears had been reported missing from the zoo or a traveling circus. They told me to sit tight until reinforcements arrive. I guess they're right. I'd be stupid to tackle a bear single-handed.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Don't get cute with me.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
Do you recognize this gem?
It isn't an emerald, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks. Are you Thomas Merren of Gruber Electronics?
No.
Then you won't be needing this. What do you think this tool is used for?
Branding mice without bending down.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds Middle Eastern.
Can you think of any sensible use for this plaster?
Sensible? No. Puerile? Yes. But you've probably thought of those already.
Would you like to shake hands?
What for?
As a gesture of goodwill.
On reflection? No.
What does this tissue suggest to you?
It looks as if it has been used to wipe Satan's bottom.
I hate to say it, but you could be right. Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc. If you see that bear, kick him in the nuts. Rather you than me, pal.
Marquet?
Yes, I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The LOCHMARNE gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassins.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grand Master quickly. Tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
You have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
Is more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he is gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. If he hadn't my office to hear that.
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
Ah, there you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter! The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window. Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves. Have you ever heard of the Hashi-Ashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again. I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rousseau or Sergeant Mou? Oh, but you're referring to André.
I'll let you work it out.
You have left it very late, monsieur.
Late for what?
NICO'S? I am closing the museum soon. You wouldn't like to get locked in. I can tell you. Not in this gallery.
Why not?
It is haunted, monsieur.
You don't believe in ghosts, surely.
Oh, yes, I do. 7 years ago, a lad managed to hide in here. He made a bet with his friends, I suppose. When I found him in the morning, he was cold as ice and stiff as a board.
Well, what was the cause of death?
They said it was a brain tumor. But on his face was a look of stark, desperate terror such as I have never seen before.
Scary. Forget it. He was a thin-faced, pallid guy with a questionable taste in outlandish clothes. My mother used to dress like that. I beg your pardon. Are you André Lobineau?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No, I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobbart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay, shoot.
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The LOCHMARNE tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point. I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much, only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah. Not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. Maybe it was my imagination, but I noticed a predatory look in his eye. Suddenly, this friendly historian had turned into the big bad wolf. This friend, who has the manuscript?
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
She lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
What can you tell me about Philippe le Bel?
He was responsible for the extermination of the Knights Templar.
I know that, but why was Philip so hot to get rid of them?
Mostly because he wanted to get his hands on their treasure. He had an enormous debt and a lifelong war with England to fund. The trouble was the Templars were a highly respected holy order.
If the Templars were so powerful, how did this Philippe dude wipe them out?
By underhanded, dishonorable means, of course. The Pope was Clement V, a Frenchman.
French, huh? Handy for Philippe.
Fate had nothing to do with it. He was Philippe's puppet, planted to further his political ambitions. Philippe wanted the wealth of the Templars and used Clement to get it.
So what was Philippe's plan? What happened?
Sealed orders were sent out all over France, not to be opened until the appointed day. That day was Friday, July 13th. That's the origin of our superstition regarding that date. At dawn, throughout the whole of France, the Templars were arrested. It was the biggest bust in the history of the world.
What happened to the Templars after their arrest?
Philippe was out for blood, so he handed the Templars over to the Inquisition. Not surprisingly, they confessed to a sensational and sordid list of blasphemies.
Like what?
Oh, the sort of things you read about in the gutter press. Devil worship, lewd sexual practices, spitting on the Holy Cross, that kind of thing.
Well, that must have given their lawyers some headaches.
Whether or not the accusations were true, this was not good publicity. Most of the charges were probably cooked up, but so were the Templars, literally. Hundreds of them were found guilty of heresy and flamed grilled at the stake. They died protesting their innocence.
But surely Philippe had no proof of his charges against the Templars.
A man will admit anything under torture. The Inquisition fabricated some nonsensical demon called Baphomet, and then suggested to their victims that this was what they worshipped.
But they didn't have to agree.
The records show a Templar coming to trial with both feet burnt off. Fragments of flesh and charred bone falling from the stumps. What would you not admit to stop such torment?
So there was no truth at all in the Baphomet accusations?
Not a shred. Almost every victim described the idol differently. No, Baphomet never existed outside the sick minds of the Inquisitors.
So Philippe stole the Templars' riches, huh?
Oh no, they weren't stupid. The king's troops marched first on the temple in Paris, then to the Templar home port at La Rochelle. There was no trace of the treasure, and the fleet of the Knights Templar had set sail.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure, it was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called LOCHMARNE.
LOCHMARNE? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived. Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
The second week of July?
Maybe. Yes, it was, just before Bastille Day.
So Pegram was in Paris at the same time as the other victims.
Pardon? Victims of what?
Nothing. Just thinking aloud. Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes, it was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language, Assassini, the assassins.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legend surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then, the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
Take a look at this nose, Labinot.
It really doesn't interest me, Georgie.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so.
What do you make of this ID card?
Nothing.
What do you make of this tool?
Interesting. Where did you get it?
From a dig in Paris.
Vraiment? I didn't realize there were any excavations in progress in the city.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
Alamut is the name of the place where the Hashashin were based.
Where is it?
somewhere in what used to be called Persia. I'm not too hot on modern geography, I'm afraid. The most recent map I have shows America as an English colony.
Do you recognize this white powder, Andre?
No?
Do you have any use for this, Andre?
Shouldn't think so, Georgie.
I'd like to shake you by the hand, Andre.
Not now, Georgie.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Nothing.
Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Attention! Please do not open the window, monsieur.
Don't you think it's kind of stuffy in here?
Better stuffy than dead.
What's the problem? Fumes from car exhausts?
Not just that, monsieur. There's a new burger bar opened up across the street. The Laughing Buffalo.
So what's the problem?
They cook their burgers on a charcoal grill, and the fat falls on the open flames. The amount of organic compound and smoke particles released is astounding. Since they opened, local air pollution has doubled, and it stinks like a funeral pyre. That is why I keep the windows closed. Don't open it! Remember the burning cattle!
I tried to sneak my hand inside while the guard wasn't looking, but the case was locked.
It is closing time, Monsieur Lobineau.
Already, there just aren't enough hours in the day.
More than enough for me. I can't wait to get home and put my feet up.
Eh bien, see you tomorrow.
Good night, monsieur.
Hey, Guido! Look at this!
Quit fooling around, you moron! Get your ass over here and bring that flashlight. What the... Who's there?
Let's get out of here!
And when I woke up, I was at the police station. Luckily, I managed to persuade Rosso I was innocent.
Poor Georges.
What a mess. I bungled the whole thing.
I don't think so. You made a pretty good job of distracting those two crooks.
Yeah, but the killer got away with the tripod.
No, he didn't. He's not the only one who can dress up in costume.
You mean It was you who stole the tripod? Oh, hell, Nico. I could have been shot.
Those dogs are more likely to shoot their own feet.
I just wish you'd told me your plans. We're supposed to be in this together. And how come you dressed up like a pantomime cat?
Don't silk jersey, please.
Oh, rats. And don't call me Georgie.
Oh, I really thought you'd be pleased. After all, we've got the tripod. Aren't you going to try putting the gem on the tripod?
I guess so. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
The gem fits perfectly, but what does that prove?
Maybe the tripod has to be in a certain location.
There's nothing on the manuscript to indicate where, though, is there?
Oh, by the way, I had a visit from André Lobineau.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the Knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bear that crest.
I sure hope so. Have you found out any more about the Knights Templar?
Yes, I have. The guy responsible for their downfall was Philippe IV, the King of France, otherwise known as Philippe le Bel.
I've heard of him.
Well, he is known to history as Philippe the Fair, but I doubt if the Templars called him that. I'm sure André will tell you all about him.
Lobineau explained who the Hashashin were.
Yeah?
The cult of the assassins.
Oh, boy!
I have to go.
Already? You only just arrived.
Time and tide wait for no man.
Okay, I'll see you later.
I once read a list of low-stress jobs. It didn't include police work. Obviously, this guy hadn't read the same list. Excuse me, officer.
And how may I help you?
Shouldn't you be off directing traffic or something?
You have seen the Parisian traffic, no?
Yeah, so?
I could direct the traffic. The most dangerous, the east side of Rome. Or I can sit here and enjoy the sun, the architecture, and the Sauvignon. Which would you choose?
Yeah, but I'm not a policeman. What happened to duty?
An excellent question, monsieur.
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their dozens within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
Aha! A prosthetic nose. Very significant.
It is?
No, I am just having a little joke.
Have you seen this man before?
No. Who is it?
I believe him to be an international assassin.
Oh.
Is that all you can say? Oh.
I did wonder if I should say that I believe you to be an international paranoiac, but it didn't seem polite.
Look at this gem. What do you think?
Cut glass.
No, it's not. It's for real.
What kind of madman would go around waving a priceless gem under people's noses?
So either it's glass or I'm mad? I didn't like to think about that for too long. Take a look at this.
Ah, an electrician. My TV has been acting up. Could you fix it?
I doubt it. This isn't my ID. Do you know what this is?
It's a sewer key.
Does it mean anything to you?
Do you belong to some obscure arm of the Masons?
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
The pattern looks Middle Eastern. Beyond that, who knows?
Do you know what this is?
Aha! You Americans with your notorious nose candy. I read Hollywood Wives. I know all about it.
If you tried to sniff this stuff, you'd wall up your nostrils. It's plaster of Paris.
It is? Thank heavens. For one awful moment, I thought I might actually have to arrest somebody. Alors, the paperwork. You have no idea.
What do you think of this?
A blood pressure sleeve.
Don't you want to know why I'm carrying it?
No! That would be dangerously similar to making inquiries. I might get a reputation for taking my job seriously.
Would you like to shake? I stopped myself barely in time. Electrocuting a cop would not have been smart. They'd rebuild the Bastille just so they could throw me in and throw away the key. What do you make of this grease paint-stained tissue?
Delightful. Would you like to see some of my used tissues?
Hell no!
Then please put yours away.
What do you know about medieval ironmongery? Have a look at this little baby.
A tripod. What is it for?
You mean you don't know?
No, monsieur. Nor do you, I think.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
The juggler was good. Why he couldn't put that kind of application into getting a real job, I had no idea. Maybe he just liked dressing up like a horse's ass. There was a small crowd of 5 sightseers. It's a weird thing, but you can take the most intelligent people in the world, put them in their vacation duds, and hey presto, they look like morons. Why is that? Hey, you with the balls.
Oui?
How did you learn to be a juggler?
Juggler? What is this juggler?
It's you. You juggle, that makes you a juggler.
No, I am a jongleur.
A jongler? What's that?
Mon Dieu! A jongleur is an artist, a master of the contragravitic aeroballetic mysteries. In centuries past, the courts of the crowned heads of Europe had the jongleurs, witty, erudite men to whom the monarchs turned in their hours of need.
Wait a minute, wait. Let me get this straight. Our enemies are at the borders, plague ravages the land, and the peasants are revolting. Thank God we've got Chuckles the Jongler to throw his balls around. I don't think so. What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers? Ah, their last Grand Master, Jacques du Molay, was burnt on an island in the Seine in 1314.
Wow. You're pretty well educated for a juggler.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
That juggling doesn't look so difficult.
Oh, it does not, does it not? Perhaps you feel you could do better, no?
I'll give it a try.
Be my guest.
I had no idea what I was doing. But this guy was obviously an idiot, so how difficult could it be? A lot more difficult than I'd thought. That's how difficult. Still, it was my big chance to be derided by complete strangers.
Not so easy after all, is it?
No, I guess not. Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur. Ah, you are a clown.
Do I look like a clown?
No, although you juggle like one. Now, if I'd known you were a clown, it would have been amusing. And not a humiliation for you.
What do you mean?
Who ever heard of a plainclothes clown?
He had a point. So you're saying that if I juggle badly with a red nose, I'd be the king of comedy. But if I juggle badly without it...
You look like a pathetic loon. Oui, monsieur, you have it.
What do you think of the juggler?
Ah, he is excellent, most watchable.
But he's blocking the thoroughfare and obstructing traffic.
So? He is amusing. The traffic isn't. If he wants to block it, who am I to say no?
You're a cop.
Ah, oui. So I am. Ah, well.
So you're not going to do anything about this guy?
No.
He probably doesn't even have a license.
Ah, a license. This I had not considered.
So what are you going to do?
The instant I return to the station, I shall check.
Return to the station? Why not just ask him?
And spoil his concentration? What kind of a barbarian do you take me for?
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
I'd like to have another try at juggling, please.
You have gone on a crash course, perhaps?
No, I just had an insight into presentation.
Huh?
Allow me to demonstrate. The balls, please.
If you insist on completing your humiliation, monsieur.
Okay, now for my secret weapon. The juggler was speechless with rage. You could have mistaken him for a mime. And without a word, he collected his balls and left in a fury. Hey! You forgot one of your balls! Hey! But he didn't hear. Better still, deprived of his entertainment, the gendarme decided maybe he ought to do some policing for a change. Fixed to the wall was a sign in 3 languages. In French, English, and German it read, "In 1312, Pope Clement V dissolved the knightly order of the Templars and excommunicated its members on charges of heresy. In the following 2 years, many of the knights were hanged on this site. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burnt at the stake on an island in the Seine." In the middle of the square was a manhole. I wondered if there might be something relevant beneath street level. weird little boat lay tied up. I guess they used it to get maintenance crews around. Either that or the Phantom of the Opera was somewhere near. There was a handle in the boat that fed out chain with a hook on the end. There were 3 arches, each with an inscription. The wall had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone. There were 3 arches, each with an inscription. The inscription was hard to read, but I made out Templier and something about innocence. Close up, I could see a faded inscription. My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe. There were 3 arches, each with an inscription. Hey, that's hollow! It was time for some brutal destruction. I'd poked a hole in an historical site. If any archaeologists came by, they'd lynch me for this. Close up, I could see the plaster was thinner where I'd broken through, and behind it were some cogs and a lever. Here goes. Hey, cool! Inside the hole, I could see one of the cogs had come loose and jammed the mechanism solid. There was a crack in the wall. Through it, I could see a glimmer of natural light.
In the beginning was the end. An end wrought by our enemies began our darkness. In the end will be a beginning. An end to our enemies heralds our new day. Report. The military establishments are in flux. The end of the Cold War has left them with no clear goal and as obvious targets for budgetary cuts. We have successfully promoted a sense of betrayal in the upper echelons. They feel that the politicians have cast them adrift. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now. Good. Mademoiselle?
Governments are giving the corporations more respect than their own citizens. A groundswell of dissatisfaction and dissidence is growing. The corporations are becoming too large and complex for their own executives to control them. A blind belief in market forces is accelerating this trend the world over. The pattern is emerging.
Our time is now.
The global population's belief in those that govern it has never been lower. We have inculcated a sense of immediacy and action over forethought and planning in all the major governments. They are acting on hasty decisions that cannot be completed or revoked without appearing foolish. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Excellent. The tired old governments are dying a slow death from their own incompetence and our machinations. The millennium is almost upon us, and everything is in place for the rise of our new order. Almost. Professor, where is the broken sword?
As we discussed last time, with the loss of the manuscript, our search is as a corollary hindered.
And as discussed last time, you have been furnished with a dramatically increased budget. What have you been doing with our money, Professor?
We are working on the principle that the Templars, that is to say our predecessors,
Hold on. These are the Templars?
must have left a trail when they were hiding the clues to the sword of Baphomet's location. I have a small army of historians and archaeologists ferreting out that trail.
I trust these historians and archaeologists are more trustworthy than your friend Pegram.
Pegram was loyal. He tried to protect the LOCHMARNE gem when the Hashashin came near.
And failed. And don't call that Syrian maniac the Hashashin. He's an assassin. Plain and simple.
That's not what he believes. He actually thinks.
Silence! Do I have to remind you that we have a sacred duty? A trust? When Philippe attempted to destroy the Order, we lost the sword and our power with it. Now we have the opportunity to reforge it. But time is short. We need results. Not petty bickering. Not excuses. Now, Professor Baphomet.
Yes, of course. My apologies. We will find Baphomet and the sword, manuscript or no. We have already found another element actually within Paris.
Excellent. What is it?
Well, we're not exactly sure at present.
Ha!
But I have my best people working on it. You would do well not to criticize others, Eklund. At least I have not murdered one of our own.
Of course. That guy was the bogus doctor in the hospital. Marquet was a liability. Eklund dealt with him on my orders.
I beg your pardon, Grandmaster. I did not mean to.
Have you any good news for us, Professor?
We already know 3 of the elements. We know that Klausner had obtained the lens before he vanished.
Where was he?
Syria. We know that he arrived, but after that, nothing.
The assassin.
I fear so. It's a shame. Klausner was a good operative.
This will be our last meeting in person until we locate the sword of Baphomet. I hope that I don't need to emphasize the importance of finding it. Without it, our endeavors come to nothing. With the sword reforged, we will have the power to sweep the stage of all opposition. The new millennium
will belong to us. The next time that we meet, it will be to become the princess of this world!
In the middle of the circle was a stump of stone, a shaft of daylight from the world above lancing down to touch it. I noticed 3 small notches around the edge of the stump's top. On the circle's circumference were the Templar seal and 2 Latin phrases. Non omnis moriar and clarior e tenebris. I shall not die completely, the brighter from the darkness. On the circle's circumference were the Templar seal and 2 Latin phrases. Non omnis moriar and clarior e tenebris. I shall not die completely, the brighter from the darkness. The light falling from above struck the gem and scattered in 5 neat rays, and each ray picked out a letter. Starting from the seal, I could read M-A-R-I-B, Marib. Now all I had to do was figure out what the heck that meant. Nico, I've seen them.
Who?
The Templars. I spied on their meeting in the catacombs.
And you saw the Knights Templar?
I saw a bunch of guys masquerading as Templars. They're after something called the Sword of Baphomet. The bogus doctor was there, the guy who killed Marquet. The manuscript is the key, just as we thought. It shows the way to the broken sword, whatever that is.
And how does the assassin fit into all this?
He's out to stop them. These Neo-Templars, they're men and women in influential positions. Don't you see? Plantar was one of them. The assassin killed him for the manuscript, to stop them finding the sword.
But now we have got the manuscript.
Yes.
So, how do they hope to find the sword?
I don't know. They said something about a lens and a guy called Klausner who's gone to Syria. But they didn't seem to realize the significance of the very site of their meeting. You see, after they'd gone, I discovered a stone pedestal and a carved inscription. I set up the gem on the tripod, directly below a beam of light. The gem split the beam and lit the letters M-A-R-I-B.
Marib is a village in Syria.
Then the Neo-Templars are ahead of us. Klausner beat me to it.
You're not thinking of going there yourself, are you?
Why not?
These guys are crazy and dangerous. That reminds me, you should leave the gem here.
Okay. What about the tripod?
I'll send it back to André, anonymously.
Do you think I should go to Marib?
Syria is a long way, Georges.